Hi, welcome to 2020 Ideas. I'm Fred McClimans. Joining me today is Brian Rich. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Today we're going to be discussing trends in global innovation. Brian, would you care to kind of put some ideas out there? Some of the trends that you see taking place that are actually key in global innovation.
Sure. I mean, look, I think the first thing that's important to say is that innovation is one of those words that is radically overused. And, you know, I'm not, by, I think a lot of definitions are sort of common standards, seeing what I would classify as really innovative changes, whether that's changes in business model or changes in, you know, use of technology or changes in sort of, you know, population and how sort of people are brought into a conversation and then, you know, influenced by whatever they're seeing. I think there's a lot of talk about the need to find new solutions and innovate the way that we do business, or the way that we learn, or the way that we, you know, engage politically or whatever. So I'm not seeing a lot of that. I do think one of the things that unfortunately is driving a lot of innovation is sort of a startup mentality and sort of a market-driven idea. We see, you know, if you will, innovations that can be sort of quickly monetized. You know, what is it that we can sell a lot of, or what is it that we can sell the promise of? But to me, the innovation is proven when it's tested, when, you know, the world or the situation that a product or a service or an organization or whatever is put into changes, and we see if it holds up, if it in fact stands the test. And you know, I think instead we should be seeing global innovation driven by need and driven by, you know, driven by the lessons learned and the mistakes that have been made, whether that's in response to disaster or in response to, you know, criticism of the way a company operated that we're not taking advantage of yet.
Good point. Innovation doesn't necessarily mean technology. In fact, I think sometimes the most important innovations are those that don't involve technology. You know, social innovation, political innovation, as you mentioned. There are many areas, education, where, you know, innovation is critical, you know, around the world. Are there any areas that you see that are really actively right now, you know, emerging as innovative areas?
Well, I think in terms of importance, health is unparalleled.
Now,
I think.
Are you talking about medicine or the delivery of health services?
I'm actually thinking more about healthy living, which is to say, a lot of our conversation about health has focused on response. How do you cure those who are sick, and even to a certain extent, how do you prevent people from getting sick? Sort of a malaria bed net mentality. But I think, you know, we're seeing innovations in healthy living, finding ways to you know, feed the global population in, you know, more efficient ways, more sustainable ways. We're seeing ways of, you know, living with less, or living, you know, in environments that are changing. And so this sort of healthier, sustainable living is an area where, you know, I think we're being forced into, you know, seeing innovation happen. Again, out of necessity, because, you know, the water level is rising, or the food is, you know, drying up, or, you know, our constitution as human beings is changing, and we're not able to process, you know, some of the foods that are available in the system. And so we're seeing a need and a response to that. We're also seeing, you know, some medical innovation, but, you know, one of the big things limiting any kind of innovation is going to be regulation, or is going to be politics. And so, you know, there are probably drugs out there or solutions to disease out there that can't get through the approval process, or that you know, a pharmaceutical company or whatever can't, you know, justify the R&D funding for, because they can't necessarily calculate the return on the investment. You know, and so they abandon what would be a true innovation because of totally practical reasons, but obviously, you know, ones that have sort of larger implications than just, oh well, we didn't change that behavior, we didn't put that into the market.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I think there's often a misperception that innovation has to come from, you know, the larger companies. It has to be pushed down, and I think the reality is that innovation is something that very often comes from the ground up.
Well, yeah, but I also think there's a little bit of an overstatement there, right? There is this perception that you can build something in your garage, or you can, create something as an individual and have a game-changing effect. And, I think in a world where we are all connected and there are so many sort of domino chains that you potentially start by changing anything, it is true that an individual can have a certain level of disruptive influence, but you have to understand how all the pieces fit together, and how you're going to plug in whatever your idea is, or what happens when you go down this path, what does that trigger, and how does that change things. And I don't think there's enough of that ability that individuals from the bottom up. So I don't want to do the sort of global local thing, but it's kind of like you need to have this cross pollination of the big and the small. You need to have the confidence and the sort of brazenness of the bottom up to say this isn't working and we're going to change it, but you need to have the judgment and the process that comes from something larger put together without kind of hurting each other, without taking the innovation away from the bottom or the discipline away from the top, and have these things play out in parallel or in unison to actually see something survive the initial excitement.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is missing very often is that when we see something that truly is innovative, we don't necessarily react to that in the right way, and we don't put the policies in place that actually promote that innovation.
Well, look, I would say that the most important part of the innovation is not that initial spark, but what I would call the day two strategy, right? What happens when the attention starts to decline? What happens when the first challenges come along to whatever that new idea or that new product or service or approach is? Your ability to withstand that criticism or to evolve past that point, that's when the innovation is actually going to occur. Because otherwise it's just about attention, it's just about excitement, it's just about rhetoric, it's just about saying, look, I've got a new idea, a new solution, blah, blah, blah. Let's see it proven out in more than one situation, in more than one country, and over a period of time. If that's the case, then you're really innovating. And frankly, to me, that's process more than it is idea. The innovation that we need more of is the innovation in the process, the innovation in the methodology of bringing new ideas and integrating them
and then sharing them.
And then sharing them, right? And getting involvement, without losing the core focus, but without, again, to your point, being totally top down or sort of deeply controlled.
Mm-hmm. So what are 3 areas that you think we're missing innovation that we need to fix over the next 12, 36 months?
I mean, I think learning, education is absolutely an area where we need innovation, because the influence that technology and the internet are having changes our brains, and we're working on old models with new, features going inside our head. I still think there's a lot of health innovation, and I don't mean medical health innovation. I mean behavioral health innovation. We need people. We need innovations that help people to walk more instead of driving, or not transfer disease, or not use poor judgment when they're sick and they go to work and they infect everyone else, or because you see these global epidemics forming out of just normal behaviors and sort of ignorance. And 3, I mean, I think we really need political innovation, and I don't mean campaign innovation. I mean governing innovation. The models of governance within politics, within business, et cetera. Every day it seems like are proving to not work, and I don't think we can wait around a generation to fix these things.
Interesting. Is there anything that you think that we should be focusing on today? If there was one thing that we could change, in our behavior, in our thinking, in our thought process, either on a local level or on a global level, what would that be?
Well, the broad answer is we need to stop doing things, right? Anybody can come up with new ideas. Anybody can propose new solutions, run more campaigns. There are things that don't work, and we're terrible at abandoning.
3 things. 3 things that we should stop doing today.
Well, I mean, I think we should stop talking about movements and these sort of mass global efforts and focus much more on the small things. I think we need to stop. I would say stop looking at case studies, right? We need to stop taking what past successes have taught us and just photocopying them and bringing them forward and really look at what we learn from them. And I think we need to stop with our obsession around social media, and we need to actually revisit this idea of being kind of social human beings, connecting, understanding what we need, how we get and share information, how changes in the world and technology are influencing us, and stop obsessing over whether it's a clout score or a new social network in any country in the world, not just the Facebooks and Twitters of the world, but stop focusing on the tool set and start focusing on the social behavior that powers all of this.
Excellent. Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you.